Hey guys, I am here with crypto aquatic mating specialist Jimmy Hapa. How you doing, man?
Hey,
I
very good. Thanks
practiced
for
saying that because of the damn freaking fish thing, but I screwed it up.
see, man. Okay.
Seaman. Well, it is 8:58 in the morning on Saturday, and we're doing this. I got Sapporo because you're in Japan, and I like to drink the shitty beer of the country of the person I'm talking to. So
Sapporo is really good, though, I'd say.
I actually like it, but it's definitely not my favorite. So here we go.
Uh,
Breakfast. Cheers, my
yeah.
friend.
Cheers. I'm gonna do some Ginga Kogen, which is my recommendation for anybody who comes to Japan.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the best beer in the world, but I ended up drinking Belgian or German beers in Japan. But cheers. Or you want
Cheers.
to go Japanese?
Kanpai.
Yeah, there you go. Kanpai. There
Yes,
you go.
yes. I was the last time I did the cheers. I screwed up and forgot one. So yeah,
There you go.
kanpai. So
Yeah, Sapporo's really.
I was only in Japan once, and it was a connecting flight. And I really was pissed because I wanted so badly to just go wander around. It was in Narita, so it wasn't. It's not like I landed in Tokyo and didn't pop out for a while. But so for people like myself, before I started traveling for work, I was the little poor kid and never went anywhere. I had no idea how big Japan was. I assumed it was like the size of Florida or something, when it's
Like,
actually a lot larger. It's from like somebody said it was from like about New York to the bottom of Florida ish or something. Is that correct?
a lot of people compare it with size like to California. So if you just think of
Okay.
like California, if you get like Japan and put it in America, the way it's shaped, I guess it would be like an East Coast California. But yeah, it's a pretty big country, but it's a lot of mountains
Mm.
and a lot of great transportation though. So even though it is pretty large, you can get here and there pretty quickly, especially with those Shinkansen. So
Yeah, yeah. I
so
remember
when
reading an
you when you do
article.
actually come here proper, you got to get one of those JR rail passes, and you can zip here and there and go game shopping, my friend.
So would it actually
Easy to
have
do.
been easy to get from Narita to Tokyo?
Oh, well, I mean, like Narita, there's a express train that gets you from to like the heart of Tokyo from Narita. I think it's like about an hour, I want to say, or actually less than that. It's been a while since I've taken it, but like from where I'm at, which is northeastern Honshu, which is the main island,
Okay.
like I can get to Tokyo in like an hour and a half with the bullet train. So yeah, I mean everything's kind of close and connected. So
So
if you're at Narita Airport, you're basically in Tokyo, kind of. So
damn, so
uh,
I missed out. Is that one of
yeah,
those high-speed trains, like one of those 300-mile-an-hour bullet trains?
the Shinkansen, yeah, that would like from where I'm at to go to Tokyo, like that's like an hour and a half. It's about $100 one way though, so it's like I don't really go out very often. Uh, I'd rather waste my money on game crap in my neighborhood,
Yeah, I hear
but
that. But jeez, that's awesome.
but
Yeah,
I'll tell you
my
about the JR pass later, so you can save on money, save
yes,
on that.
always.
Go any so.
So I guess a proper introduction is in order. You actually don't study fictional fish from Dreamcast games as for a living,
I
but you do
did.
have. You did for
I
this
wish
one
I
thing.
was. That would be a pretty kick-ass job, but
Yep, you do have a pretty awesome YouTube channel. You want to tell everybody about it for those of us that weren't familiar with you right away?
sure. There's not really much to say about it, but it's a small channel, and I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. I don't really remember, but it's all about games that never came out in the States and mostly also in Europe. So Japan only games that are really good and most often ones that people never really talk about. So, and I kind of go, I wouldn't really say they're reviews because I don't really say, I only choose games that I like. So they're not like critical reviews. But I try to go through. Here's the story. Here's how the game plays. If there's some history I know about it, I'll talk about that. But the thing about YouTube is like when you first start out, it's like I'm gonna make this short, make this under 10 minutes. This is gonna be great. But the more you do them, the more detailed and the more some sort of weird like YouTube OCD comes about. And I think that happens for a lot of people when they start out. So they've been getting longer and longer, and I don't know. People seem to like it. So
Yeah, as long
yeah.
I mean it's my opinion, but as long as the content is good, then it doesn't really matter how long it is. It's all you're in it for the content. So whether it's 10 minutes or an hour, if as long as everybody's interested, who cares how long it is? So
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too. But their demographics and the YouTube game,
Yeah, look, the demographics people have
Not that
laid
I
out.
care.
If I followed those things, I should have killed myself when I was 17 because I never fit into any
Oh.
demographic. Everything I've ever done was against the grain, and everybody always told me I'd fail. And I'm not I live in a room in New York City and drive a Kia, so I don't think I'm a failure, but I'm not exactly rolling in it. So whatever.
You're doing fine to me, and with that attitude, this anti-tribalist attitude, I like that.
There you go.
You know?
Don't put
But we
me
have
in a
each other.
box.
We have each other. Us retro gaming people. I never really
Absolutely.
fit in either. So
It's very funny
all
when you
good.
say about stuff getting longer because my first podcast was 7 minutes long. And I thought, like, all right, well, maybe someday
Yeah.
I come up with an opening, like, but God, what's going to happen on the weeks that I don't have anything to talk about? And I think by my third podcast, it was 45 minutes long or something. Oh, God. All right. Well, let's just keep rolling with it and see what happens. But, hey.
Yeah, and people seem to dig it, so you're
Yeah.
doing something right with that.
Yeah, as long as people dig it and I'm having fun, I'm not stopping, so.
Yeah.
So, you're not generally on camera on your videos, right?
No, I never go on camera. So
See
it's
why
actually
you're
this is
fucking
kind of
hideous.
a first. I know,
Ugh.
right? Actually, I prepared us for some things. I was gonna to avoid going on camera. I had one of these things, and I
What
had
is
like
that?
some
It's just
little-
glasses?
little glasses to kind of block out your
Block
eyes, and
That is hilarious.
had some other stuff here too, like some creepy masks and a Dragon Quest slime thing. But I figured, you know what? I don't want to ruin the flow of your interviews, so I'll go on camera. For all the people who are disappointed for finally seeing me, if anybody is familiar with me here, then sorry. Just a normal looking dude.
I was kind of hoping you'd be wearing a Voltar mask. Just a picture of his face over yours, just so we could troll him a
No
little
one
bit.
can replicate that amount of sexy. So unfortunately,
Oh, awesome.
our CGI isn't up to that level yet. So
So, the last person who lived in Japan I spoke to was Chris Covell, and he started to talk a little bit about some of the things that he finds, but judging on the collection you have just sitting behind you, it looks like you're all over the local game stores and collectible stuff. Is there like a neighborhood to go to around you? Is there like I don't know, for people to go to Japan, is there a hidden gem store that people could go to find stuff? Or
hidden gem. Yeah, well, everybody knows Akihabara, and I could talk to you about Akihabara a little bit later if you'd like. But I would say, like, as far as like hidden gems, a place that I always recommend people, and I think it's pretty well known now, is Book Off. Like, it sounds like something dirty you do, right? If you're in the library, you're booking off. But Book Off is it's like the largest used media chain in Japan, and so like every neighborhood probably has a Book Off somewhere, at least one. There are a few in the States. There's one in New York too. It's probably not going to be nearly as good as one in a dinky neighborhood in Japan, but hey, it is what it is. They got a couple in Hawaii too. I used to go there a lot when I was still living there. But Book Off, yeah, I mean, as far as their prices, they started to go a little bit pricier. But the beautiful thing about Book Off is, like, every time you go in there, there's something that you're going to want. And they sell games, they sell game consoles, they sell music CDs, they sell DVDs, it's books. But, honestly, it's the current year who reads books, but Japanese as an avid reader population. But as far as, like, games, sometimes, like, they'll have, like, their database of prices. And so, like, a game like I don't know, The Adventure of Little Ralph for like the PlayStation 1. They know it's really expensive, so it's going to price it accordingly. Just for example, too, the other day I saw a really great condition Castlevania for Famicom cartridge, which is one of the last releases for Famicom, and it's actually a pretty hard to find and expensive game here. But they were charging about $280 for it.
oh wow,
And that's a kind of a shock because, yeah, I mean, like when we think of Castlevania, I bought that for like $5 at like a Funko Land back in the day. But like sometimes they'll have that. Like it really depends on who prices them, it seems, because like, or who the manager is, even at the same store. Because that very same store, sometimes I'll find like dollar games basically, and they'll have complete in box, like just like I got Crude Buster from Mega Drive. I think it's called Two Crude Dudes. It's kind of a somewhat rare game in Japan. That was $1. Mickey's Magical Quest 3 was $1 there too. Just a ton of stuff. Like whoever's pricing them, they either see it as like, oh, I got to look in the database, see what this game is, so I can price it accordingly, or oh, this is old crap, so $1, and they just throw them in like a bin or a shelf. So Book Off is what I would say. If anybody's just wandering around Japan, they're bound to see a Book Off and they should go into Book Off and check it out. There's also Hard Off, and I'm not even joking. You know, it's not a joke. Like, your girl's so ugly she gives me a hard off, but like, it's called Hard Off. It is part of the Off family. So Book Off, Hard Off. There's Off House. So a lot of play Hobby Off. It sells figurines and stuff. But Hard Off is like also another store, just like Book Off, but they sell more things. It's where I get my laser discs, because I am an old man and I like laser discs. Big giant CDs that I don't really have room to store anywhere. But it's kind of like either going to a yard sale for someone who just died, or for some parents whose kid went off to college and are just selling off all their old crap. There's like a lot of really great stuff at Hard Off, but Book Off, Hard Off, those are pretty good. Those are pretty good hidden gem stores, and they're everywhere. So Hard Off less than Book Off, but yeah.
Interesting.
And I'll just shout out. There's a guy, Kid Shoryuken, who does like these Hard Off Hunter series on YouTube. So check them out.
Hard Off Hunter.
Just don't do it at work, because you might not like the results you get, and you might get fired. You know.
That sounds like something that would air on Dateline NBC. Hi, I'm Chris Hansen in Hard Off Hunter. Would you like a brownie?
Yeah, he's gonna look in your bag. We noticed you had 10 laser discs. You know, all $1 each. What were you gonna do with these?
I love literal translations, and I love the wrong translations sometimes. I spent a long time in Taiwan for work, and you could see, like, sometimes the trendy kids would wear shirts with, like, what they thought was American slang on them, and it was just wrong. Like, not only spelled wrong, but one was like bake fuck. Like, that didn't even make sense. I was just like, it was just a kid walking around. He thought he was this shit. It was in, like, shiny gold letters and a white shirt. And I'm just like, wow, somebody should explain to him that he's actually not the cool kid. He's just illiterate. So, oops.
It's kind of like those dudes who have, like, the little the Chinese and the Count Kanji or whatever tattoos. And, like, you don't know what that says, guy. Come on. Now they have Google Translate or whatever. They just scan it like, oh, my God.
I got a couple of friends with those, and I'm like, are you sure? They're like, of course I'm sure. The tattoo artist said it was. I'm like, oh, God. Your tattoo does not say that. Go look it up.
What an idiot. But yeah, I mean, you get that in Japan as well. I remember, like, I think it was like an old Tokyo game show from like maybe the late 90s. I remember seeing the pictures of it in like an old electronic gaming magazine, and it always stuck with me for some reason. But it was a T-shirt they were giving out to people, and I guess it was the slogan of the show, and it was, "The future of games kick your ass." But it didn't say the future of games kicks your ass. It's the future of games kick your ass. So I don't know. I
like that, though.
It's cute, like, right? I guess that's why it's always stuck with me. But I wish I had one of those shirts.
I'd wear it.
The future of games totally kick my ass.
So you said you lived in Hawaii for a while. How did you get all over the place?
That's where I grew up. Okay. So I grew up in Hawaii because that's where my mom's from. And that's where my dad met my mom. But I was actually born in Cali. And I've lived in Cali, lived in Hawaii, lived in South Carolina. So I've lived in a lot of places. My dad was in the Navy, so he just moved around a lot as well. But yeah, after college, I moved to Japan, stayed in Japan for a few years, went back to Hawaii, got bored of that, went back to Japan. So that's why.
Is it really living in Hawaii as people say?
Rough, as in
like one of my friends is I actually had him on the show.
Hard waves at the beach? Or?
No, he's an ex-Marine, and he said, like, he would go to bars, and he's just like a lovable dude, right? He'll just show up and mind his business. If you talk to him, he'll talk to you. He's just the most like he will never start a fight. No, yeah. This guy is a Marine, great shape, and he said, like, every bar that he went to, if he were to just bump into a local accidentally, he'd get punched in the face. He's like, it's really rough over there.
What the fuck, Bob? Hey, Howley boy, what the fuck? You like scrap? Like that kind of.
Much, yeah.
That's the thing about like military and locals. You know, I stopped kind of going to like bars and going out a lot when I moved back to Hawaii as an adult. So, and that's why I started YouTube. But for some reason, yeah, like the locals and the military dudes, it's just like this. I don't know, this weird hatred that they have. So yeah, there's always like weird fights, and it's always like these weird tense kind of showdowns or whatever. And I understand a little bit why it happens, because your friend's like super nice, I'm sure, like you said, and like he's like probably like a nice, respectful dude. But you got a lot of assholes, like everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if you're in the military or not. But there's like a long history of locals and military hating, and there's a little bit of like, I don't want to go too into it, but this kind of weird racism too. It's not just power plus prejudice, guys. But but we don't need to get into that.
But is that something where, like, if I were to go to Hawaii for a month for work, which actually almost did happen once a couple years ago, like if I just as just an old fat man walking to a bar with a smile on my face drinking, like if I bump into somebody, am I going to get cracked in the face? Obviously not in military fatigues and my signature black shirt.
No, I don't think you're gonna get cracked in your face. They call those false cracks too, like when you don't know you're getting punched in the face. But yeah, like you're probably gonna get. I would say most people are gonna be very nice and friendly, and I would say you'd be very unlucky if you ran into something like that in Hawaii, to be honest. But there is the chance. It depends on really where you go to. But yeah, a lot of people look at like folks as like yourself, and they just think of them as like they got the word haole, right? Haole.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like just people who just don't like those kind of people. Even though the same people will listen to Taylor Swift and they'll watch the Avengers. All these damn howlies in these movies and this music, but if they see you in person, you're just ruining my Aina, ruining my island, which it's a shame because like in Hawaii, like most people get along, and it's a long history of people coming together. It's very, very much the result of people coming together and working together instead of punching you in a bar for having a goofy grin and a nice demeanor. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm always very fascinated by the psychological aspects about all this stuff because I started to learn because I never went anywhere, and then next thing you know I get a job and they're like, go get a passport, you're going to be gone most of the time, and you see everywhere on the planet the same patterns repeating, whether it's a city or a town or a country, and we're all cavemen. We're very, very few years outside of the cave compared to how many years we were in the cave, so we still do have that like protect your own tribal, and like the smaller the community, the more defensive they are of outsiders and of all on all walks of the planet. And it kind of cracks me up. And then everybody always thinks different is worse, and that always cracks me the fuck up too. But yeah, I see craziness everywhere, and I just kind of laugh through it. I'm also kind of a large dude, and I had to get into a lot of fights as a kid, so I'm not really afraid of much. So I just kind of smile through it, like, yeah, whatever, fuck right off.
Yeah, well, you're not afraid of getting the best picture quality from your retro gaming system. No, so
I will start a fight with any Super Nintendo that comes in front of me, any one of them. 2 chips could fuck right off.
Well, that's good though. Yeah, I mean, like, just. Yeah, I know what you mean with like the whole tribalistic. That's what's good about kind of being in this older kind of gaming, retro gaming, old school gaming, whatever you want to call it. Like there's not. I look at a lot of like modern gaming YouTube things, here and there once in a while, or like websites, and I'm just kind of like I just see what kind of comments and what kind of community there is, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Was it ever this bad when I was 13? Or
it definitely was, without a doubt.
It definitely was.
It definitely was.
Actually, you're right. I was just gonna say like, maybe we're older and wise, and we're like just retired. We're not gonna do too much bullshit because they're still trolls, and like God bless, whatever. Do what you want to do. I actually do remember like getting Xbox Live. I got that day one, the original Xbox, and I was super excited for that. And I got Unreal Championship, and like the first thing that people started telling me was I just was basically told that my heterosexuality was challenged. People thought that I had more melanin than I had. I was like, wait a sec. I was so hyped because I pre-ordered Xbox Live, and I was like, I'm gonna get Phantasy Star Online when that comes out. But then
people always say whatever they think is going to get the most rise out of you, and the lower they go, the less respect I have for them. Unless they're friends, and then bring on whatever you got to say. But with strangers, it's like whenever somebody just stoops to the lowest thing they can, I immediately lose respect. Like you couldn't even come up with something creative. Like, you really just had to go to a default. Well, I wonder what's going to insult this person the most. Come on. Like,
Right. Yeah, if it's creative, then hey, I like that. But yeah, if it's just stupid.
I had a troll the other day,
Right.
and I probably shouldn't encourage this, but I was in tears laughing so freaking hard. I banned somebody last year from the comments because they kept dropping the F-bomb, and clearly I'm not talking about fuck. And
That one.
they weren't doing it funny. They weren't doing it ironically. They just were an asshole about it. I was like, dude, why don't you lay off on that, man? We don't need that here. And he responded again with that. So I banned him. And next thing you know, a couple months ago, I got a private YouTube message. Hey, you piece of shit. If you hadn't abandoned me, I would have donated to your stupid Indiegogo. But it doesn't matter. Your heart's probably going to explode before it ends anyway, you fat fuck.
Well, he's still trolling.
Oh
so
my god, I loved it. I was absolutely laughing my ass off. And it's like, I probably shouldn't say that because now I'm going to get a million of those.
Should have responded. I was like, yeah, when it happens, I hope I'm under or over you. But
yeah, on your mom. Just step
mom,
right
bro.
down to that level. I hope that's what my heart
the
gives
cycle
out.
of violence continues. But yeah, I usually don't take much like people I don't know, like whatever they say too seriously. And I kind of sometimes I can enjoy it if it's like very clever. But yeah, there's a lot of lazy trolling these days, you know.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people who get called trolls who aren't trolls, and I don't know, it's so stupid. I'm too old for that shit, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm glad most people in our little circle or whatever are pretty mature. You know, you don't get too many weird hate mail or whatever stupid comments. You get them here and there, but it's amusing.
Yeah, I think any of the events I've been to in person are like the polar opposite of your average comment section. Like, it's just so cool to see a random group of people of every age, of every level of melanin, like whatever. Anybody, you just walk into a room and there's all these people that are all wildly different from each other, that are all just like, hey, like that's it. That's the extent of your judging when you walk in that room. Like, hey, like that's it. It's very cool to see that, and I see that a lot in the fighting tournaments too. Just a bunch. The dude, I think the dude that won one of the last tournaments I went to didn't even speak English, and everybody loved him. They were fucking all cheering him on and everything, and he just walked away with his little trophy, smiling, high fiving. I love shit like that. You know?
Yeah, there you go, man.
I actually hear that's the way it is in most of Japan and most of the cities. Like, you just walk through and people are very welcoming, and not. You certainly don't have to worry about, getting brushed off or, anything like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like, Japan is a very safe place, and people are very, I mean, there's not every single person, but in general, it's like probably like the most respectful place on the planet. Just people respect privacy pretty, I don't know, pretty much for anything here. Sometimes to a fault, where it's just like, people won't help each other out because it's like this weird kind of like, oh, civil people they ignore everything, especially like in places like Tokyo. But it's like, yeah, it's nice because nobody's gonna give you shit, or because like even like in somewhere in the States, somebody might just, for some reason, maybe they have a low self-esteem. They see you filming something on the street or whatever, they're gonna come over and try to fuck with you, right? But in Japan, nobody does that.
I think the bigger the city, the better it is. But the downside of that is the more people, the more assholes. So if it's 0.01%, but there's 7 million people in New York City, that means every time you walk down the street, you're going to walk by a lot of assholes. So.
Sure, I love New York City and everything, but yeah, it's completely different in like a place like Tokyo, where it's so I see like why there's so many people who kill themselves there. Just like you're in this city with so many people packed so closely together, but there's this like strange distance between people, and so that can be hard for people who can't like kind of cope with that. But it's nice for someone like me who doesn't care about stuff like that. And if I'm like just kind of walking around, no one's gonna give me anything, and you can take your camera out. Some people might just do this, but that's about it.
And fair, totally fair.
Yeah, no one's gonna come up and be like, "What you filming?" and all this kind of crazy stuff. The subways in New York are a hoot. I'll put it that way. They're pretty nuts. But Japanese subways or trains or whatever, you might get loud teenagers here and there, or maybe some loud drunk people. They might throw up on you. Oof. But it's pretty much like this, and especially now with phones and like headphones and all that. And people sleep. Sometimes they sleep on your shoulder.
I've seen those videos before. That kind of cracks me up. Jeez.
Yeah, it's super. I don't know. It's like living life on easy mode, in my opinion, here in Japan.
That
So
sounds pretty awesome. New York does get
come
a
on
bad
over, man.
rap, but I'll tell you,
I love New York, though,
if
man.
you're walking down, I used this analogy when I was talking to
personality.
Jason. If you walk down the street and you stop to look up at a building, you're gonna get run over by pedestrians. But if you
Sure.
stop and you're like, "Hey, excuse me, I'm looking for," 9 out of 10 people will stop and be like, "Where are you going?" That way, 3 blocks that way, you're good to go. Like it's not as bad as people say, but the subway
Oh no.
very often is.
Yeah, it's
I was
Bizarro World down there. It's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I was up. I was up early. I had to head into the office. Somebody stopped by to buy a monitor, and I'm standing in the subway, and I can't sit really because of my back. So I'm just kind of standing there, and this guy's walking past me. I'm like, oh god, I hate it when a homeless guy rubs up against me because then I got to go wash my jacket because then it smells. And that's not like a judgy thing. It literally smells. So like I'm trying to move, and as he walks past me, his pants just hit the floor.
Ooh.
And then he just starts barking at people on the subway, and I'm like, "Oh my god! I would love nothing more when that door opens to just grab him and throw him right out." But then I'm gonna have to go burn my hands, and it's just that's every day, all day on the subways here. It's craziness like that. 3 kids pulling a scam tried to start a fight with me a couple of months ago, and all I could think about is like, if I
Rival
beat the
YouTube
shit
channel?
out of these kids, I am going to go to jail. Not like, there was a fight and you were defending. No. They're like 18, 19 years old. 3 of them were trying to steal money from people, and one of them got near me, and I was just like, "You guys better leave me alone. I just want to be left alone." And they kept trying to goad me into fighting, and I'm like, "Oh god, like don't hurt him." Don't hurt him. The door opened. I was just like, deep breaths. Like, just step right out. Like, oh, it's a little rough sometimes there with that, but, and I don't,
Yeah,
it's New
It's the
York.
complete opposite in Japan, man. Like most Japanese, like 99.9% of the people would never do something like that. And if it's anybody, it's probably going to be someone like me. Like when I was younger, getting a little bit younger and a little bit drunker, I was doing some pretty stupid stuff, apparently. I'm surprised I didn't get deported. So,
Yeah, they
but
say your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. And
right, that prefrontal cortex or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and in hindsight, that makes a lot of sense. And some of the dumbest shit I've ever done in my life, I was like 16. And the thought of doing any of those things now, I'm like, oh my god, I would never. But I didn't grasp the consequence of my actions back then. So, yeah, a lot of dumb shit.
I was good when I was 16, but like when I moved to Japan when I was, I think, 21, that's when I was like, okay. I moved to a place where you had to drink a lot too, because if you didn't, it was like is super rude because it's the place in Japan with the highest alcoholism rates. So
Sign me
everybody's
up.
drinking. All right, hey, come on over. We'll take a trip around Japan. But I was like, okay, I better learn to drink, and like I wasn't a drinker before too, and then that's just kind of how it is, and sometimes it's fun and great. Sometimes it's a little bit like sad and depressing because you see these people passed out outside. No one messes with like these people. No one steals their stuff. That's the thing. It's been a few times where it's like, man, if I had done this in the States, I'd be out of like, back then an iPod. I would have been out of my wallet, my bag. Everything would have been gone. But this is Japan, so if you leave something on a bench, chances are no one's going to steal it for like a day or two. Someone's going to go to the Koban, the Japanese police box, and give it to them. Somebody leaves a little Samson on the side of the road in New York. That shit's going on eBay in like 10 minutes, right?
Or kicked into the gutter or something.
Or kicked in the gutter.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, I actually have never had to worry about that because I always made sure, believe it or not, I was actually usually the one that made sure my friends got home okay. And the rare occasion where I was the one worried about being passed out on the side of the road, I had people there I could trust to make sure to get me home. My large Australian friend, Nigel, he's had that duty a couple of times, which sucks because he's way bigger than me. So he's usually always the one that gets people home safe. I only had to get him home once, and it was Halloween, and he was wearing a dolphin costume. So I had to like carry a 6'6" dolphin home who's swearing at people with an Australian accent. That was one of the coolest moments in my life, actually.
Oh man, that's something that like nowadays, like somebody would have their cell phone out and record that and put it on YouTube. It need to be like one of those viral sensations overnight.
Yes, yeah, that was pretty epic, actually. Drunk dolphin.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, a local man carries a drunk Australian dolphin home on his shoulders.
Oh shit!
Hit that like button. Start a go-go or Indiegogo or a GoFundMe.
Yeah, good drunk dolphin GoFundMe. That would be hilarious.
Just say that you dislocated your shoulder or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you should definitely come over to Japan, and if you do, let me know.
I would love to. I was talking.
I always extend the offer out to people, and especially people that I like. And Bob, we haven't known each other for very long, but I do like you.
Oh
so,
hell yeah, man! That's why I should be on the podcast. That's why I'm drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. Actually,
thank you. I do really appreciate that. It was very sudden. I was like, oh, what is this about? And
no, I was serious. When we were on the My Life in Gaming live stream together, you had me in tears at one point. I was like, dude, I'm getting you on the podcast at one point, whether you like it or not. So I kept my promise.
I do. I hardly remember what happened during that podcast or that during that 24-hour stream, but I do remember at one point somebody in the comments when me, you, and Voltar were talking, they were like, This like stream is an embarrassment. I feel like it ruins the dignity of my life in gaming, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, and then they got mega pissed. They're like, "Isn't this for children?" All right. Well, first of all, children aren't on it, but second of all, I love the people that throw the criticism. I used to do medical stuff for hospitals, and there was a bunch of times I ended up in the kids' ward, which is never fun, by the way. It's just really depressing and sad. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I mean, if I was a kid stuck in a hospital, and some fat dude had to come and work on my computer, what would I want? So I would just go in and start talking to these kids. And the grumpy ones were the ones I immediately took to, because why are they grumpy? Because they're a kid who's in the hospital all the time. That's why they're grumpy. So I would just sit there and fucking talk shit and fuck with them. And next thing you know, they're laughing and we're having fun. And hey, by the way, the stuff we're talking about is exactly what those kids would love to be hearing at that moment. So kids meaning like 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm not like swearing at a 4-year-old or anything. Just put that out there. But yeah, that one cracked me up. You? I was told. We got told and scolded on the My Life in Gaming live stream, but whatever.
Yeah, like Corey and Try, they didn't care about that either.
No,
like, whatever. Dudes, we're all adults here. Yeah, they're super nice about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was trying to like really use my filter too, and I wasn't drinking at that time either. So I was like, oh, it'll be good. But all the weird stuff, it just comes out. And
my favorite was the comment that said that your avatar was racist.
Oh yeah, I know, right? I drew it myself, so I guess guilty as charged.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I think most of the people were really enjoying the stream. So like a couple of people who are just a little bit stuck up or whatever, and they're perfectly entitled to that. And if they want to feel that way, that's great. We need different opinions. But I was just like, come on, guys, have a little fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, it was a good time.
Yeah, and like, it was good. I was thinking too. Here's the weird thing. It's like, oh, this is like really fun. I hope I get to hang out with some of these guys sometime. And hey, here we are. So
yeah, well, I think you made a love connection for life when you had the picture of Seaman with you and Voltar on there, and then the Kevin Spacey in Voltar and all that stuff. That was, yeah. In fact, I think
I got to use that too in my my promo video for that C-band.
I saw that. We should do that as the thumbnail for this video too. It'll just be like you on top. I'll take bottom for this picture, and then it'll just perfect. I'll have Zach Photoshop it up for us.
Click and okay, this is what it is. Thumbs down, click.
Well, at least people know what they're getting into before they even click on the video. So
right, exactly. And either way, you clicking and thumbing down, it's helping your SEO or whatever people say. So
yeah, I never understood the click and like thing. People say that all the time. Like all right, make sure to like this video. What does that do? Subscribing obviously helps, but what does liking actually do?
Feeds an ego. It vindicates.
Yeah. Okay. Don't bother liking the video then. Just subscribe to both of our channels.
back in the day, you used to be able to see on like the. This is why I used to do it. Like you used to be able to see like on preview like how many likes and dislikes it had. I think. I can't remember for sure, but yeah, really early on, I was like, if you like the video, leave a comment and like or whatever, something like that. But I don't care about that stuff anymore.
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm sorry to jump
Yeah.
around topics, but
Oh,
it is
love it.
literally a breakfast beer, so I think I'm tipsy and I haven't even finished this yet. But and just for the
Could
record,
work
for
on
all
that.
for anybody watching, this is not a normal thing. I genuinely don't roll out of bed on a Saturday and open up a beer. Like I know I always joke about being an
You wait
alcoholic,
till
but
Sundays for that, right?
Sunday football, that actually was a thing
Oh,
last
there you
year. We
go.
used to meet every Sunday, but I didn't roll out of bed. I would at least go walk to the person's house and then open a beer. But anyway, the thing that I wanted to ask you, is there a big arcade culture around you? Because there obviously is in Tokyo, but is that something that you could find all over Japan, or is it really just localized?
Yeah, I live in Sendai. I'll just go ahead and dox myself here, but I live in Sendai, which is it's not like it has over 1 million people, but it's a pretty large by land city, and it's one of the 20 designated cities of Japan. But I live really close to the city center, and basically in the city center, around the station, there's probably about 6 or 7 good game centers out there, and I was doing this is how stupid. Like I was doing a pachinko video games thing last year, and so I was out there going to like different places, and there's like 10 times more pachinko than arcades, like video game arcades, which is sad. But hey, man, Kim Jong Un needs that money. But yeah, there's a big arcade scene still in Japan, and it's not like it would have been like 20 years ago, obviously, but it's still pretty kicking. And maybe like a 15-minute bike ride away from where I live, there's a arcade that has like it's just like whatever 7 stories of just everything. They have pachinko too, but one floor is like old arcade games, and they have like these Gamist arcade machines where they have like I guess they're official ROMs of like every old school video game ever. So I got to play like Legend of Valkyrie, which I did a video on, and I was like shocked to see that I could actually play it on arcade hardware. And that was like a big trip for me. But like like Mr. Goemon was on it too, like stuff like that. Like it's not hard to find. What's funny about like the arcade scene, back when I was living in that place I was living in that was full of alcoholics, Kochi, Japan, I had a friend from New York visit me, and we were going around to some of the arcades, right? And this dude was like really big into like I guess it's Beatmania, Bemani, Beatmania. Like he was like, oh, I gotta play Beatmania. So I took him to an arcade that's kind of close to a video game store I wanted him to go to, and he was in there, and like he was like, this guy was playing the arcade machine, so we're like, okay, we gotta wait a little bit. But like he started getting enamored with it, and I was like, what the fuck's up with this dude? And I was like, what's the matter? It's like, dude, this guy playing is like ranked number 2 in the world. I was like, what? And I was like, yeah. He's ranked number 2 in the world, because I recognized his username, because I guess you could put in your name and it was all hooked up online by then. And so we talked to him, and that guy was like super nice and everything, and gave him a ride around town. So I mean, there's like still, there's still people who really take it seriously, and you see like those god level like rhythm game player videos right on YouTube still. So
yeah, I always say like I'm always fascinated watching anybody who's a master at their craft, regardless of what it is. The master ice sculpture maker, a master Street Fighter player. At the end of the day, it's all the same in my eyes. And for whatever reason, though, I do have probably it's my ADHD, but I have a harder time watching it on TV than I do, in person. Like I used to drag race. I love drag racing. I'll make it through 40, 50 seconds of a drag race on YouTube or on TV. But if I'm there in person, I'll just hang out for a while. And it's the same with the arcade stuff for me. I do very often have like my Twitch streamer friends up on a different monitor, just kind of playing. And I look up every time something cool happens. But when I'm in person, I am captivated, and I get to meet Kusamando, who is I think the number 1 E-Honda player on the planet, and I was there at Too Old Too Furious when he won the tournament, and it was like, I mean, I don't want to sound completely cheesy, and I'm not drunk yet, so I'm not exaggerating, but like you could feel the electricity in the room. I know that is absolutely like the total cheese ball analogy to make, but it was nuts in there,
dude. I always think of like I could never go to one of those things because like a part of me is kind of like, I don't really get it, but I know if I'm there, it'll be like a rock concert, or a hip hop concert.
Yep.
You feel that kind of like, some people say that's your soul.
Yeah.
It's leaving your body and experiencing something. So,
whatever you wanted to attribute
like
to,
us,
it was awesome.
yeah, for dorks like us, that kind of thing would really kind of get that emotion out of us. So, dude, like honestly, like I said it earlier, but you gotta save your money and come to Japan, man. You're gonna get a kick out of these games, game hunting. I'll do you good, man. I'll hook you up with some
Hey,
good
if I make it out there
some
again,
local and some Tokyo, man. Because
if I
I
make
feel
it
like
out, I'm definitely taking you up on that because I was really sad for a while. My job actually, I was supposed to legit live in Taiwan, which for people watching, it's relatively speaking, infinitely closer than anywhere in America, but still kind of far away. And yes, they're two
super
completely
cheap though to get to.
completely different countries. And no, it's not Thailand. That's the question I always used to get when I flew home. Now, how was Thailand?
Kinda,
Taiwan. Never been to Thailand, but I
very
was supposed to live out there.
open-minded.
They had found me an apartment. They had said you're going to do 3 straight months, and then come back for a month and go. And then the deal got canceled at the very last minute. But I had started. I had talking to all my friends. I was getting itinerary together, and it was pretty much every other weekend. Like every one weekend, I was going to do something in Taiwan, and every other weekend, I was going to do something within a cheap flight around there. And I had places in Japan picked out, more places in China. I was going to get to explore Hong Kong finally, and nope, that didn't all fell through at the very last minute. So I was pretty disappointed because every time I was out there, I was like, well, I'll wait till I move out there because I know I'm going to be moving out here, and it all fell through.
I'm gonna say like something that's gonna make you kind of sad about that. Like I think that even with like Japan prices, a trip from Japan to Taiwan is like 150 to $200 round trip.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's so cheap. It's cheaper for me to go to Taiwan than for me to go to Tokyo on a Shinkansen.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Isn't that crazy, right? But so yeah, it's unfortunate. Like yeah, Taiwan. I know you got to do the disclaimer because everyone's gonna be like, Japan and Taiwan are two different places, and like there's gonna be a lot of weirdos like that. But it's close enough as far as location, people. Obviously not the same place. There's a history there if you want to look at your World War II history and open up a textbook, but you don't need to do that. But
Actually,
yeah,
or if you
there's a
listen to
good
the band
relationship.
Sonic from Taiwan, all of their songs are about the Taiwanese Revolution, so you could engage in some crazy extreme metal and learn history at the same time.
There you go. You need that excuse.
And the bassist is ridiculously hot. So if you're into chicks and you like extreme metal and history, there you go, all in one place. So
Yeah, let me know a little bit more about that after this thing's finished. Sounds pretty good.
yeah,
But yeah, I would love to go to Taiwan, but I don't know. I've never been, but it seems to be a lovely. I know people who go there like several times a year, and they always tell me how great it is and rub it in my
the
face.
weird thing about Taiwan for me was that like I said, I mean, I never went anywhere as a kid, just wherever was within like a 4-hour circle of where I lived, and with like driving. And I went to Canada once and Florida once, and that was it. Never went anywhere. And then next thing you know, poof, I'm just like all over the planet. And I have been to many places in the U.S. where I felt like an alien. Like I legit might as well have been like,
Yeah.
to like come out of my spaceship like alien. And I landed in Taiwan. And it's I guess the good analogy, it's like going from JFK to New York City. It's a drive, there's traffic, highways, blah, blah, blah. And you get there, and it just felt exactly like New York City. With New York City, everything's fried, and in Taiwan, everything's boiled in tea. So the distinct smells are a little different. But everything
Yeah.
else is, and a million scooters. And everything else is the same. Like, it felt like home. It was very weird because I just immediately was like, I could totally live here and be very happy. So it's strange. Everybody's different, everybody finds the place that they click in. But from day one, when I thought it was going to be one trip only, I had no idea I was going to be spending, most of a few years of my life there. It just, it totally clicked. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. So, and I just, it was all business related. So there was many times where all I got to see was the inside of the cab and the inside of the office, which is why I didn't get a chance to pop over to any of the different countries. But yeah, anybody that gets to go out there, and I'm dying to go back the whole East, to be honest with you, because there's just so much cool shit all in that area. I know like this isn't video game related at all, but
Yeah.
the first time I was in the only time I went to the Forbidden City in Beijing, it was the most eerie feeling on the planet because it felt like I was walking through a city that didn't through apartments and houses that didn't have light switches. Like that's it. That's really it. I mean, we're talking, what was it, 3000 BC or something. So 4 or 5 thousand years ago, and it's exactly like a normal. Like it's so weird just to think that far back. It's the same, just no technology, and it was mind blowing. I love stuff like that. So
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, human beings, they figured it out quite a long time ago, but I'm glad I'm living in this era. You know, you go back to those kind of, you see stuff like that. It's like, Jesus.
yeah, I do love all of the nerdy
They
stuff
didn't even have
about this.
Pong.
No, not even Pong.
Not even Pong. Not even Space War.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, just think the
Historical
very thought,
stuff like that. Yeah. Like,
I mean, the
seeing
very
stuff
thought
like
of me in New York and you in Japan talking at the same time to each other, that wasn't even a thing. That wasn't even comprehensible in just a few hundred years, let alone thousands.
yeah, for even like almost like 50 years ago, especially like just seeing each other, that would have been impossible.
Right? What's
Maybe
this alien
some
space magic?
Exactly.
Hmm.
We should-
So I'm trying to think. I had a bunch of other questions for you.
Is that Sapporo getting to you?
Yeah, it must be. It's really been a long time since I've had breakfast beers. So,
My last drink lined up too, but I'm gonna say, like, you remember this?
Zima? Oh my god, I remember being like 13 and sneaking one of those because you could put it in
that's
a
amazing.
thing and make it look like Sprite. All right, I'm going to chug this. Hold on.
Yeah, chug that. Yeah, I was gonna say Zima. Yeah, you can get Zima in Japan, can or bottle, and with like different flavors. And I was like, I remember when I was a kid watching Zima commercials on old like Nick Jr. and stuff like that. And I was like, I remember Zima as like this is the drink that they would try to advertise to moms who are forced to watch Nick Jr. with their kids who they regret having.
Oh.
And then I was like, when I became an adult, I was like, yeah, let me get some Zima. It's gone. But
Yeah, I
in
think
Japan, all your
actually-
dreams come true.
I think
Yeah,
I
Zima.
actually had that same thought
good.
when I was in the store one day. And it's funny too because stuff like that sticks. Like I went and picked up because it's cheap and everything's really expensive in New York. I have some shitty
Almost got a
American beer
Budweiser
just
today.
to be
Yeah.
America, just to be stupid and silly.
America.
But they had something else there that I almost bought. Did you ever hear of Colt 45?
Of course, yeah, Colt 45.
I remember those commercials when I was a kid, and Billy D. Williams.
Well, Billy D. Williams, yeah.
I was just like, Lando Calrissian makes whatever this is look so fucking cool. I want a Colt 45. I remember asking my mother, and she was like, "That's alcohol. You can't have that." I'm like, "But Billy D. Williams likes it. Like, he looks so
Lando.
cool." Yeah, when I
Lando's
first
sister.
discovered a store that would sell to minors in the middle of the ghetto, you pretty much had to drive through like a war zone to get there. And then 50-50 chance you were getting screamed at, or once a couple friends got robbed in the parking lot. Like, just driving the most horrible neighborhood ever. And I just saw Zima, and that was the first thing I thought was like, I remember seeing all these as a kid. And then I just saw it standing, that large, tall can of Colt 45. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what this tastes like. And it did not taste very good.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's disgusting. Yeah.
I would
Should've got the Zima.
I would prefer Zima. I would even much prefer Old English OE, just super ghetto style malt liquor. I used to drink that all the time.
High Grav Hurricane HG or whatever.
Yep.
Nasty, but hey, it's got the highest gravity.
Yep.
But,
what was the
Zima's
funky monkey? You drink, you chug an OE down to the label, and then you fill it with orange juice, and then like you tip it so it mixes, and that's the brass monkey. That's right. It was the
the brass monkey.
That's what they called it, and that was the Beastie Boys song. That's what they were singing about now. See, that's another history lesson from Drunk Bob right here. The funky monkey, the brass monkey.
I'm gonna say like, yeah, whatever. People will probably be listening to this, be like, what is this crap? Thumbs down. This is not about getting RGB from my my Bondi Pladia. This is bullshit. But you know what? I'll say this about you, Bob. Like when I was on that My Life in Gaming thing, like you came on and like you disappeared. I don't think you ever came back, right?
No, I got real drunk that night. I wasn't driving, for the record. Was not driving that night, but yeah.
Here's what happened. Like so you left and like I stayed on for a little bit longer and I went to sleep. I woke up and I went back on and finished up the rest of the stream. But people were still asking like, where's Drunk Bob? So I don't know. Some people like it and I was like, that's good to hear.
It's weird too. Like when you do stuff publicly, like I never get nervous talking. I never get nervous in front of people anymore. I stopped all that stuff when one of the companies I worked for got bought out, and they the people that bought them out told me to give a presentation to a bunch of people I'd worked with for years, and then told me to lie about something. Like so just tell them this and that. That doesn't work. Yeah, but it'll work eventually. Yeah, but there's going to be like 100 people that rely on me for the tech info on this, and you're going to tell me to lie? Hey, you want to keep your job? Just tell them this. I turned into like a little shy kid.
It's good enough for you.
I know. I was literally like, like I went straight in, and the people that didn't know me were like, "Oh, he's a nerd that's shy. Let's just let's be nice to him." And all the people that did know me is like, "What's wrong with Bob?" I'd stopped getting nervous after that. I was like,
crack or something?
Yeah, I was just like, if I could make it through that, like, fuck it. But showing my man boobies, I don't give a shit. But singing background, I'm a terrible singer.
I've not checked your Patreon page, other than you have a lot of Patreons. Those is nice Patreon patrons.
A lot of really awesome people. I'm very lucky.
I was like, damn, man, that's awesome. But maybe it should be a reward, little side
a man boobie reward.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a singing reward. I have zero shame, but the first time I had to sing background live, it came out as like, I'm pumped up, I'm playing guitar, once again, don't give a shit, I'm running around the stage, I'm screaming at the crowd between songs, all the drunks are yelling back in a good way. It's my turn to sing back up, and I was like, like, it just nothing. I don't know what it is, it's the one thing. Terrified.
When you come here.
only one friend in my life has ever got me to do that. My friend Kaidi from Taiwan, and it was one of those like KTV. I'm positive you have that in Japan. So for people in the U.S. that don't know what that is, you get to rent a private room, and there's like a TV and a bunch of microphones, and you pick your own songs, and you and your friends can privately have your own karaoke session. And it's way cooler that way. You don't have to wait in long lines. If you're shy, you don't have to do it in front of 50 people. You do it in front of whoever you're with.
It's pretty like the standard operation here, yeah.
Yeah, so. And I mean that I'm not a karaoke guy, but if I was going to do it, it's the perfect scenario. And I was showing off being an asshole. I was like, I'm going to order the biggest beer here. Now it's midnight. We'd been drinking since like 7. And Kaidi's like, and she speaks perfect English, but we're all drunk. She's like, Bob, that's how you say big beer. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want a big beer. She's like, no, not like very big beer. I'm like, now you're talking, motherfucker, very big beer. And she's like, you know what? Just order. So I ordered everybody a round of drinks, and they brought over the Heineken keg can, the one with like 20 beers in it. And she's like, well, now you have to finish it. Oh, God. She was kidding, of course, but like, so I'm sitting there, now I'm just embarrassed trying to pump out of my keg can. They're finally like, all right, you sing American Song from American Movie. I'm like, well, what movie? And it was, oh God, Top Gun, the love song when they're at the bar.
Oh, I can't remember that, yeah.
You Lost That Love and Feeling.
You lost that love. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
They made me sing that at KTV. I was like, you couldn't have at least done Danger Zone? Like, it's a little bit more fun.
No, we wanna like just stress your vocals, man. Yeah, I wish I had like cool karaoke. The only cool karaoke experience I remember is like just hanging out with some dudes that I knew from like, because I used to slum it with bars because I had like late work in Japan, and like. Here's something I've noticed about Japanese people, and this is probably a stereotype or something, whatever. I don't know. They always want to show off their dick. Like, dudes.
Really?
I've gotten Japanese dudes to flash me quite a few times in my life. And I just remember this one time at karaoke where it's just like, for some reason, it's like dick talk comes up a lot with Japanese dudes. I mean, maybe I'm just hanging out with, maybe it's just because it's me. I don't know. I'm just hanging out with a lot of dudes who want to talk about dick, but I just remember just trying to think of like, oh, when I was doing karaoke back in the day, like those times like, yeah, I got a big dick. It's like, okay, well, if you're so proud of yourself, why don't you show it? Okay, bloop, pass out, pants down. We're gonna pull up his pants and drag him out of the karaoke place, but it's happened more than once. I'll put it that way.
There was a lot of frat boy behavior in America. There was a couple times you passed out where people would pass out and somebody else would take a picture and somebody would like Not in like a not in a rapey kind of way, but more of like a hey, Johnny's passed out. Let's like drop my nuts next to his face. And as a kid, I never understood. It took until adulthood for me to get that I am so painfully straight that it never even enters my brain. And I've been to a million gay bars because I follow my friends where they go. So if they're gay friends, they go to gay bars. I don't give a fuck.
Bars are fun too.
And it wasn't until like one of my friends, just like the biggest asshole you've ever met, but so lovable at the same time, just thick British accent, so he gets away with it. He's like, "Oh my god, you are just so painfully straight." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Did you not even see that guy hitting on you?" I'm like, "The guy with like 0% body fat? Don't I have to bang him now? He's just pretty." He's like, "Oh my god, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just stick to chicks." I'm like, I kind of planned on it. He's like,
yeah.
So yeah, my brain doesn't even go in the other direction. I wish it did, because there's so many amazing bars around here. I could get booty anytime I wanted, 3 blocks away from my house. If I just walked in like, "Hey guys, anybody want a straight guy?" They'd be like, have to give out tickets. They're like, "All right, your turn." But no, just painfully straight. Yeah, so never into whipping my junk out. Never into checking other people's junk out.
Me neither. And whenever I've been hit on like by like a gay dude, I'm like, "Oh, it's great." Sometimes
what a fucking compliment, drinks. Right?
I'm always just like, thank you so much. Like when it used to happen. When I was younger and more fit or whatever people say. But
that makes no difference. I am not fit.
Fortunately,
I still get hit on.
It doesn't matter.
Sorry to burst your bubble, my friend. You don't need to be fit to get hit on.
It's true. But so it is unfortunate. It's like people are just who they are. So if you can flip a switch like that and just change those kind of preferences, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, actually, 100%. I do wonder where the "show my junk" comes from, though. I do kind of.
I want to say it's probably some sort of thing because I think people see other people in porn in Japan, even though it's censored. And there's a kind of people make fun like Asian dick jokes all the time, and so there's probably this kind of weird thing in the back of people's heads, and when they get really drunk, this is my theory. It's like they try to lie to themselves, but usually it's like disaster. It's like, no, not the Godzilla penis. Sorry, without going into too many weird incriminating details. But it's just like, put it away, guy. Put it away. Why are you showing this to everybody?
The censorship in Japanese porn always cracked me up because all you see is just like blurry pixelation and then like the top of OJ's head and the naked gun. That's it.
Yeah.
Just a little fuzz top with like it's
a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing for sure.
Hey, to each his own.
Yeah. Right. I'm afraid you're gonna get so many thumbs downs for this, so it's all right, whatever.
Look, after the massive fail of the Indiegogo thing, I feel like if people are still around for that, they're gonna be around. They either want to hear
people love your stuff, so
yeah, they either want to hear people talk and hang out, or they want to see tech videos, and it's based on the amount of views on the interviews. It's very. Half the people are only in it for the tech. Half the people are just like, "Hey, man, I like these guys. Let's just kind of, leave this on in the background." And I'm totally cool with both. So
I've watched both of those kinds of interviews that you've done. So it's kind of like I was like, "Oh, what the hell am I gonna say that's that people are gonna like?" But I don't know. Maybe there's something here. It's just like two people shooting the shit. So it's kind of what it's become. Also, when there's
at first, I was really nervous about that. The first one like this, I did. Like, geez, do people really just want me to do tech? Because, it has to be a balance of I do what makes me happy, and I do what everybody that watches makes them happy. Right. I mean, it's got to be a balance, right? Otherwise, I would probably just sit here and play guitar all day. But, like, I got good feedback from that. So it was very cool. So if you're watching now, I hope, and in fact, I should put in the description, I should recommend that you get drunk with us as we go.
Exactly. I was actually going to say that at the end, like, put something in there, like, get drunk or make a drinking game or something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those, it's probably best to do it now, because if this was 9 at night and not 9 in the morning, I'd be about 5 or 6 deep right now and less tipsy. So so perfect. If you're a lightweight, this is the one to drink along to.
Yep.
But
Every time Bob flashes his man boobs from here on out, take a shot. Wait, oh my god. Not at that point yet, so. But
I did have
like
more gaming questions though. Like there's if you still got
go
time, I
ahead.
still do have those for people that are still with us. If you're still hanging out,
I'm fine with any question you have. Honestly, I've done like one interview before, and I was on like Screw Attack back in the day, and I was like, it was text only, and it's like the dumbest thing ever, and I just took it, I completely treated it like a joke. I treat yours a little bit more with more reverence because I'm actually coming on camera, but I'm fine with any question. There's nothing that you can ask me that I'd be like offended about or like. I can't believe this brutish knave would ask me this question.
Well, this one is going to be horrendously offensive. So strap in.
Okay. Yeah, click on that.
For Americans who want to purchase like rare, harder to find stuff that you can only find in Japan, is there like a secret auction? So offensive. But my buddy Jordan actually got me a ton of shit from Yahoo Japan. He lives out there. And it was like an unbelievable help for my testing, and it was cheaper. But you still, if you don't speak Japanese, have to rely on Google Translate for everything. Rough. So is that the best way, or are there other ways to do it? Like, what do you suggest?
From what I understand, and I guess I don't know if you know. Do you know who Kelsey Lewin is? So knows Metal
that's
Jesus.
the chick who's 23 who gave a talk about how to run a game store.
Yeah, because she like owns a game store. She told me that she buys Yahoo auctions through like a third party Yahoo auction dealer, which I guess you pay them a little bit of like whatever the end result is, and like they send all the stuff to you. So there are services like that. Yahoo auctions is pretty good, but I don't tend to do them too often unless it's something really rare. Just because like coming to Japan is the best thing you could do, and like looking around for things. It's like if you want to try to do this, it's not as big as Yahoo auctions, and like they don't have as much like rare stuff that shows up on there, but like you can get a really good deal. It's like Mercari in Japanese, MERCARI .co.jp or maybe something like that, right?
I'm gonna make sure to put that link in the description below because I'm not
sure. Yeah, check it out for yourself too. I buy stuff from there more than I do on Yahoo auctions. I don't know. They don't do anything like you probably have to ask first if they do international, and they'll let you do that. But what's great about them is like they'll have a price, and like shipping is included in the price. If you live in Japan, like I said, like if you want to get it sent internationally, you're just gonna have to try to contact the seller and see if they would do that for you. But like they usually have like the best deals you can find online in Japan. Like I've kind of found it myself anyway. It's from Mercari, but like Yahoo auctions is pretty good too. As far as like hidden auction houses, not really, but on eBay, there's one seller that's been around since I was in high school. Because when I first started buying stuff on eBay, this guy was still around. Yamatoku Classic, I think is what it's called now. Like he just does auctions, or because it's like a big company now, I'm sure. But like their auctions always start at like 1 cent, and sometimes you can get really incredible deals through Yamatoku. And sometimes I'll go on and like when I'm finding stuff like out here in the wilderness in Japan, I was like, let me check to see like eBay auction completed history and see how much it sold on Yamatoku, because I spent a few $100 on Yamatoku. I got tons of stuff on there because it was like, okay, no one's bidding on this. They used to have like weird hours too, but I think they've streamlined it so where it's like it fits with Americans, but you can still find like games that are like even half as cheap as like what I would find when I would consider a deal here in like local stores. So Yamatoku auctions on eBay. Try Mercari, and Yahoo auction third party vendors or people who like will say like, oh, just 10% of whatever the final price is, just pay us. And
is there a third party vendor that you've used that you would trust? I mean, I can't imagine you would, because you speak and read Japanese, so you wouldn't use a third party vendor. But is there
like online or
yeah?
Oh my god. Back when I was still living in the States, there used to be a website called Super Family Mart. and they used to be an eBay seller as well, and nobody followed them. So like I used to get really good deals from them, also from their site. They've actually recently come back on eBay, and nobody follows them. So you can still get pretty good deals there, I think. I think it's called Retro Game City on eBay is also pretty good. But as far as like, yeah, third-party sellers, we're kind of past that age. It seems like it's all social media or one of the established websites these days. Back in the day, you used to be able to find like a lot of like really small third-party sellers who probably had like a GeoCities but with like a domain name. Like those old sites.
GeoCities.
I knew a guy when I was in high school who was from Hawaii, and he lived in Japan, and he had a GeoCities site where he would just like have a bunch of. He would do eBay and he would also do GeoCities. Like there were like sites like that all the time, but now just because of the way the internet's changed to be a thing that you look at on the go for most people, I think it's just like the big websites and social media.
Is there anything
it's all
when you say social media? Are there like Facebook groups for people that do trading of stuff like this, or is there like
I don't know about like Japanese stuff, but I know like a lot of people for years have been doing like weird auction type stuff on Facebook and trades and stuff. I'm not part of any of those because I don't have a Facebook, but from what I understand, it happens a lot. So I don't really I don't have a better answer for that. Sorry, but
no, it's cool. So for people that are just kind of like wanting to see what pops up, just follow those. I guess follow the auction site that you listed before, which I'll go back and make sure to put that in the description. Any tips for people that are looking for very specific things? So whenever I hounded Jordan with these things, I was like, I need this exact model, I need this exact color, I need this, and he would just hunt them down for me. And just once again, huge shout out to him because helped with the testing big time. But for people that need specific things like that, like for me, I would like to have my 2-chip SNES died, so I want to get one of the original. It doesn't have to be quite the launch edition, but one of the early model and early motherboard revision Super Nintendos, Super Famicoms, sorry, from Japan.
Good.
So like where would people go if they needed to find something very specific like that? Is it just search eBay and Yahoo auctions and just wait until one pops up? Is there like a place to go to?
Well, from what I understand, like on Yahoo auctions, one of the most popular sellers is actually the seller account of the store Beep in Akihabara. And I don't know if you know Beep, but it's like my favorite store in Akihabara. It's like it specializes mostly in old PC stuff, but hands down, like this is like the best, and like the staff there, they know everything. Like if you could come to Japan, Akihabara is the place. If you want to find something, you probably will. It's like a 99% chance you'll find it in Akihabara. It just depends on like if price is an issue for you. Technically, I like or basically my rule is like if you see something on eBay. Like a Japanese game that's like either rare or whatever, it's probably like half the price. For most things, it's like half the price in Akihabara, right? If you go there in person, and then like in other places in Japan, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's usually way cheaper. Like because it's like a crapshoot. They go into like a gaming store, they're just selling whatever they have around, right?
So for people remote try to find Beep and I'm gonna try to pronounce it correctly. Akihabara.
BEEP. That's fine, yeah.
Beep, I can
you
figure out.
You could say Akiba if you want, for sure.
That's what I've always heard people pronounce it as, but I try to do it correctly. Sometimes because I always tried to pronounce it correctly, but sometimes it comes out so funny it ends up being silly.
Yeah, if you want to say Akihabara, that's fine.
Akihabara. So
you can say like in your Spanish Akihabara, and that's pretty close. So
fair enough. But for people that actually have the opportunity to go there. Could you talk a little bit about that and what it's like and what exactly is it? Is it like a mall? Is it like put it into terms that people around the world might be able to visualize? Is it like a couple of streets? I would say like Canal Street in New York City, but unless you've been in New York City, you don't know what that's like. So, or not even New York City unless you've been to Canal Street. So, is there a way you could put it so people might be able to visualize it?
Like Akihabara itself? Sure. It has its own station. So I guess the easiest way to get to Akihabara if you're in Tokyo is there's something called the Yamanote Sen, or Yamanote Line, which is a big circle that goes around Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And from Tokyo Station, it's 2 stops, so it's really close by. So if you take like a bullet train into Tokyo, 2 stops, like not even 5 minutes, will get you to Akihabara. And it's a few blocks of just like, they call it Electric Town, Akihabara. And a lot of people back when I was a kid, I always thought of like that as my mecca, right? My religion was always video games, so it's like that's the mecca. You got to go there. And it's a few blocks of just electronic stuff, right? But it's mostly these days associated with like otaku culture or like just this nerd culture. And back when I was a college student studying in Japan and like in Tokyo, I didn't think much of Akihabara, to be honest. Like I thought it was overpriced, because compared to places like Book Off, especially back then, it was like super overpriced. There's a lot of like weird stuff that I'm a little bit creeped out by, but like, hey, God bless if you like that kind of stuff, great for you. But like weird kind of like, I'll just say it has to do with anime. A lot of maid cafes, a lot of chicks who are like in high school trying to say like, I'm a real life high school. Like nowadays, I'm a real life high school girl. Spend $20 every 5 minutes to hang out with me. I'll let you put your head on my lap. And weird shit like that. But like all the best video games in Japan are basically centered in that area. Like the most hardcore.
So when you say centered in that area, it's like it's a Times Square-esque where you walk in and there's a bunch of lights and shit,
Sure.
but there's different stores, so it's not like street vendors, it's different stores and stuff, and
Right.
they're all part of the same culture of things, so they all have similar,
It's
but
all
maybe
like
a little different.
nerd electronics culture in Japan is kind of centered there. So
Okay.
that's why I kind of like say it's like, people see it as like their mecca.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like 3 general types of services there, right?
Mhm.
There's like video game stuff and video game PC stuff, right? Which is the main thing. There's duty free kind of stuff, which is like they might sell like kind of electronics or like samurai swords and stupid shit, like for people who have passports or just tourists and they get stuff tax free. There's a lot of that. Less these days than there were like 10 years ago. And then there's like shit like weird maid cafes and like hang out with a real life high school girl. Like who the fuck would want to do that?
Yeah,
right?
that gives me the creeps big time.
It's really weird. And like, yeah, they got some weird stuff like that, but like it's really awesome, especially for like the video game stuff. And the main stores that I tend to go to, of course, everybody talks about Super Potato, this, that. It's a great store. It's not nowhere near the best store. Super Potato is the most famous and most popular store, I would say for foreigners, at least for most popular, in Akihabara. It has 2 stories, 2 levels of like just video game everything, and then like 1 level of like arcades. It's very small, very like kind of like restricted or whatever. Like you're gonna be shoulder to shoulder with people in there, but okay prices. But because like they are the biggest name in town and everybody tries to go there, especially if they're not familiar with Akihabara, that's the first place they go. Their prices, I would say, are a little bit more expensive than other stores in Akihabara. And a lot of people last year were saying like, there's a drought in Akihabara. Like, oh my God, Japanese retro games, they're over. And for a little while, it was pretty pitiful, like in places like Super Potato, but like it's better now than it's ever been. I'll put it that way. But if you just want like a general, like, what is Akihabara? Yeah, Super Potato is a fine place to go to. It's hard to explain like without like seeing pictures and images, but like just tons of like games, every system you can think of, they have it. Like they have like they provide games for that system, especially now because like I said, it's better than ever. But yeah, Super Potato, it's close to the station too. It's like not even 5-minute walk from like the Akihabara station. That would be a good place just to kind of get your general things. And I found really good deals there too. But just be prepared to see a lot of foreigners too there, like from everywhere in the world. People speaking Italian, people speaking, I guess, maybe Arabic, just people in there. And then just they try to speak English to like the cashiers too, who kind of, I guess, are used to it, but they don't know what the hell they're saying either. So it's kind of this weird, it's a weird cultural exchange there. But Super Potato's fine.
I actually kind of love stuff like that, as long as everybody's nice about it. I've always really tried to be nice when I don't speak the language, but I've been lucky that most people just find it funny. Like, look at this dude trying his
Yeah.
best. Fuck him. Well, let's help. Like,
Most people are very nice. What I noticed for like a lot of foreigners who come to Japan, like especially if they come from places where like haggling is a thing, like in Japan there's really no haggling, but it's funny seeing people trying to haggle. It's like, no, I want this for this. Like they're not gonna give you that price, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
yeah,
Especially in like a
hate
Super
haggling.
Potato, like this Game Boy Light, $300. That's crazy. I'll give you 150. Like, nope. go away. Go to another store. Go on eBay. Like, so you get a lot of that too. But like, it's kind of a nice thing to see people trying to communicate. And the one thing they have in common is their love of video games. Isn't that cute?
I'm glad you mentioned the haggle thing, because that is such a massive turnoff for me, because there's entire cultures that their culture and their business is based off of that. And we had I don't want to say it because I don't want everybody to be like, oh, well, you hate this country. Then no, not at all.
Oh,
but
of course not.
When I worked for the computer company, I was at the CES actually, and a guy comes over and he's like, all right, well, how much are these? I'm like, well, I mean, we sell to resellers, so it's a minimum order, but they're $1,000. I'll give you 500. No.
What? What?
Well, that's crazy. $1,000. We're cheaper than most of the other places, and you get more. But I mean, we could definitely give you a deal. Do you want 10,000, 20? Our biggest order so far is 20,000, but we could do up to 50 in our current capacitance. No, I need I need about 100, but I'm gonna pay 700. No, you're not. And then, like, it got into an argument. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you see the big fucking sign behind me? This is the price. This is the price for you, for him, for her, for everybody. He's like, that's not how it works in my country. I'm like, we're not in your country, and you're pissing me off. And my boss came over, and he's like, that's not how you start a conversation. This business.
Right. No,
you say it's 1,500 and then you settle at 1,000. I'm like, that's why I'm not a salesman and I'm a fucking nerd. I'm out of here. This is like, so yeah, it's that I don't know why that's such a massive turnoff to me.
It's almost like zero haggling in Japan for like anything. Even like I've successfully haggled once at a flea market here in Japan, and it's because I didn't have like enough money, and I've got like Tomba for PlayStation 1. You familiar with that game?
No.
Great game. But like, I think it was like three PS1 games for like $2. And I only had like 100 yen with me for some reason. I don't know. I think I just came back from somewhere. And I was like, oh my God, I only have 100 yen. I'm so sorry. And they're like, okay, I'll give you 3 games for 100 yen. So 3 games for $1. And one of them was Tomba, and it's a really great game.
That's awesome.
I don't know. So I was like, that's the one successful haggle here.
I accidentally haggled once. I was in Jamaica, which is a big haggle culture, but I fucking love Jamaica, so please don't think I was talking about them.
I've been cooking some Jamaican jerk chicken recently. I love Jamaica.
I love the food, I love the culture.
Good
some
music,
dude fucking paddles over. We were on like some, one of those like, one of the cheap resorts that you just go to for a couple of days and sit on a beach, and some guy like paddles over on a canoe, and he's just like, hey man, why don't you try the real Jamaica? $50 for this bag. And he pulls out this bag of weed. It would take me a year to go through. I was like, I don't know, $50. I was like, do you have anything smaller? I'll just take a little. And he's just like, nah, man, look, I'll give it to you for $20. I'm like, I don't want all that. Look,
who did that dude steal that weed
I
from?
have a $10 bill on me. Can you just pinch a handful out of it and I'll stick it in my pocket? He's like, just take it, man. And I'm like,
wow.
What am I going to do with this? So I ended up with a gigantic bag of weed for $10. I think I rolled 3 joints and smoked myself into a coma, and then that was that. I'm a drinker, not a smoker. So
you gotta be careful like about that stuff in Japan. Like if they find that you've even had any sort of association, if you're a foreigner, deported out of here.
That's
it's
it.
Like zero
I'm not going to be allowed in because of this interview of something that happens in Jamaica.
Yeah, exactly. This has already been demonetized with that Jamaican accent you did, sir. This is already not suitable for all advertisers. So, excuse me. I'm gonna have to
walk
check
into the bar in Stamford. It's gonna be months. I'm gonna go back to the city I used to live in, and one of my buddies there is Jamaican. I'm gonna walk in, and he's just gonna bitch slap me, open hand man slap me. The hell. That's that fucking interview you did, asshole. You want to do my accent? You do it right. I can feel it. It's coming. Oh my god. Sorry, guys. Any of my Jamaican friends
I
watching
thought you were
here.
going to do the other route where it's just like, see, some of my best friends are Jamaican. And I can, guys, I can
No,
do it.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you can tell a real racist because some of my friends are, so that I know the response they're going to have.
Hey,
This isn't a myth.
my best friends are these people.
You think you're funny with that accent? You think you're trying
Oh,
to do a
good.
Bob Marley impression?
Oh,
Fuck
everybody
you.
loves Jamaican. Like, I'm sure like Jamaican dudes probably have fun with that too. It's like, look at the white boy doing the Jamaican accent.
Yeah,
That bumper
depending.
clock.
As long as you're not disrespectful, absolutely.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great story about haggling. That's like how do you get so lucky? That's like a lucky story right there too.
Yeah, I just wanted
What did you
to
do with the
pull out
rest
a
of
little
that
thing.
weed?
That
Sleep in the hotel room for the next
so
guest to kind of.
I think I don't know why. I think I was a little paranoid about it because I didn't know what the rules are. Because depending on the country you're in, you can get in some massive shit for that, which is
you gotta.
kind of annoys me because it's a plant.
Don't have anything. Get arrested.
But I think I hit it somewhere. I think I hit it like lift up a ceiling rafter or something. There was something where you had to deliberately go, and I think I left it there so that if somebody, I'm hoping maybe the cleaning crew would find it and be like, oh, stupid white boy smoking the garbage weed, whatever. Which, by the way, was some of the strongest weed I've ever smoked in my life.
I would imagine. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's the
Yeah.
reputation is pretty. It's pretty legendary.
Yeah.
You would have prevented somebody from killing themselves. They might have been like hanging themselves from that rafter or whatever, and they're like, "Wait a sec."
Well, I've always wanted to smoke, maybe before I kill myself, and next thing you know, they smoke one, and they're like, you know what? Life's fine.
Yeah, what am I doing, man? You know what I gotta do? I'm gonna buy myself an NES RGB mod that shit.
Yep.
Have a good time playing some Super Mario Bros.
There you go.
What was I doing? They don't got that kind of stuff in heaven or hell. I heard they got Bubsy 3D in hell. I don't want to be playing that shit all my life.
Space Jam, whatever. Or
Space Jam? Oh, God damn. The reason I wanted a PlayStation, this is funny you mentioned Space Jam. The two reasons I almost bought a PlayStation before I bought an N64 and waited and got an N64. I was hyped on Space Jam, and I fucking loved Bubsy for Super Nintendo. And those are the two games I was going to buy when I got a PlayStation. And I was like, I'll wait until, I don't know. I heard like Ganbare Goemon was coming out for N64, like the Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that game on Super Nintendo. So I was like, oh, I'll just wait for I'll get an N64 instead of a PlayStation. But I was super hyped. I would go to Toys R Us and I would look at the little flippy thing for like Space Jam and Bubsy 3D. Like, this is like the best game ever. I can't believe this. Those were the two shitty games that I almost stopped gaming. I wouldn't be here today if I would have gotten a PlayStation and bought those two games when I bought it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the one thing that's
synchronicity.
very different from when we were kids to now is, pre-game downloads, pre-demos. If you went to a store and you rented a game and it was garbage, that was it. That was your weekend. So you rented that on a Friday night. If you don't like that game, you either lost your money. So as a kid, it was like $7 to rent a game or something, which was a shitload of money as a 10-year-old.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that's it. You either you gave up and then you go play your other games and you lost your $7, or you stick with that shitty game and you play through it and you try to get. And there was a couple I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't make it 5 minutes into. They were so bad on every level. But
Right.
I mean, you kind of have a different appreciation for other games when you're kind of forced to play them like that. And there was many where as soon as you get used to whatever the weirdness was, and as soon as you get past the first little spots, turned out to be really great games. So, yeah, it's different. Now if a game doesn't capture me right away, I don't want to play it.
No, it's same here. Hold on one second. I'm going to use the restroom real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to cut that or whatever.
All right, we're back. For
Yeah,
those
sorry
of
about
you
that.
who have never hung out and drank with me in person, I am a large man with a tiny little bladder. I just have to. It's weird. I don't get it. But yeah. So since we're back, I stopped to have a refill, and while it's now 10:30ish in the morning, I actually am meeting an old friend to go do a bunch of stuff today, and he wants to day drink because apparently I'm the guy people call when they want to day drink. So let me let
That's a
all of you
story.
guys in on this secret. So you have a glass with ice. You have a Gatorade, which most time, if you're not an athlete, this stuff just bloats you anyway, so I try to stay away from it. So here you go. Now you have your electrolytes and you have some water, but you want to keep the buzz going, otherwise you'll get a headache and kind of pull out from the day. So you have some Stolio right into the Gatorade. It's about a shot. A healthy pour, if you will. So here we go.
I'm learning something new today, too.
Yeah, I'm going hard today. And no, this genuinely is not what my Saturday is usually like. But we got Jimmy Hapa, got old friends coming in. This is a day.
That sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, it's strong, dude. But electrolytes, you Gatorade.
It's what plants crave. You know, so
I made one of those with the same exact thing, but I used Pedialyte one time, which is like the stuff that you give babies when they get dehydrated.
Yeah.
Thinking that was the better idea, and I made that because it was another. We were doing like the soccer finals. Anybody that's a Premier League fan, you know, there's obviously like a huge time difference, so you have to get up early if you want to. You know, it's one of those you start drinking at 7 a.m. and then you're asleep by 3 p.m. But I used Pedialyte, and all of our hands swelled so much from all the salt and all of the, you know, so we all looked, you know, even the skinny ones, comedy we all looked like a bunch of, you know, like me normally, a bunch of big mitts. Fucking, I should have been a bass player, not a guitar player with a hand like that, but hey.
Used to advertise Pedialyte after Zima, right? Back in the day.
That's hysterical. That's perfect for the parents who are going in, steal some of your kids' Pedialyte the next morning after too much Zima.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy, but yeah, I mean, like, just to go back into video games, if we were talking about a little bit about Super Potato, but yes. Yeah, if you come over to Japan, I definitely gonna have to hit up Akihabara, and like, I'm more than glad to be your guide. Same thing goes out for pretty much anybody who wants to come to Japan. If I can make it, I'm always happy to help people out.
I would love to do the retro roundtable in Japan. If we can get all of us out there, just partying in Japan, having fun, do a live podcast there, I think that would be absolutely insane.
Oh, it'd be so good. Yeah.
I wonder what the chances of that actually.
Like, I know, like over where you're at, you got like that Brooklyn Barcade, right?
Well, so just to be clear, I don't know if you
go there often, but
just to be clear, the barcades in New York are the Brooklyn one especially are very hipstery. It's you go there to be ironic. The one in Manhattan, especially if you go during the day, it's filled with just people that want to play games and not be bothered. And then you go at night, and it's the same thing. The one in Jersey was pretty cool too. But it's I was told that the people who own those do not own them because they love video games. They own them because they thought it was a great gimmick. If you want to actually experience what it's like to be in a real, like an actual legit arcade with people that genuinely give a shit, that's when you go to the next level iFix machine, especially if there's any tournaments. Brooklyn Video Games is a smaller store, but they do host Neo Geo tournaments there. And every weekend you could do something. Pretty cool, so if it's Friday or Saturday and you're in that area, I would go, like if you're in New York, I would go to any of the barcades during the day. I wouldn't bother speaking to anybody because they're just going to look at you sideways if you ask a game-related question. Then towards the evening into the night, to God only knows how late they go sometimes, then head to Brooklyn and see whatever event is going on that night, because it's real. It feels like the arcades from back in the day. There's less machines, but more people are into it, and the machines are higher quality. So that's definitely that's the New York explanation, if I could.
Yeah, well, there you go. I was going to ask you about that too. I mean, I know this is like your interview and everything for me, but
ask me whatever.
I mentioned Brooklyn Barcade because I went there, I think maybe 6 years ago. Jesus Christ, it's been a long time. But yeah, 6 years ago, I went to the Brooklyn Barcade, and like I went when there was nobody around. Me and like 3 friends went over, and I was visiting in New York. 3 friends, I think my sister were there, so it's kind of like, whatever, my sister's around. But I was playing like Strider. I was playing like stuff like that. I'm like just having a really Contra. Like it was a really great time. Nobody was there too. And I wasn't there like just trying to chit chat with people. So it was a really great experience for me. I wanted to open up a barcade type of like thing like that, like in Hawaii. And then I was like looking into like starting up a business. I was like, oh, this is not going to happen anytime soon. But I was going to say, like, if you do come to Japan, There are a few bars, like at least in my area, there's like at least one bar I know of that a friend introduced me to, that he gave all his like old Super Famicom and like Famicom games to this guy.
Mhm.
So he's got like this full like library of like some of the best games ever made at this guy's little tiny bar, and you can just play them whenever. But even like in Akihabara, like I was mentioning earlier, I went to go hang out with this guy Kid Shoryuken. He was trying to take me to this place called A Button in Akihabara, and it's like a retro game bar, but like it was closed when we went to go. We traveled all the way there to go, but yeah, there are places like that too in Japan. I don't know if there's any ones that are like, oh, this is just like a gimmick or whatever, and they're just trying to scam these fucking nerds to give us some money. It is the greatest scam though, because like when I was at that barcade in Brooklyn, you know, drinking and like trying to beat a video game on like an arcade machine is the worst. You know, it's just like, okay, let me just put in another quarter and I'm just trying to keep playing this game, and like, you know, your skills get shittier, but your desire to play gets like higher, right? So it's like you got this weird thing. It's like a perfect scam. But I had a great time at the barcade in Brooklyn.
So it's all
this is 6 years ago though. So.
Out of all the different barcades I've been to, you know, as long as you go during the day, it's not crowded.
I think we went pretty early too. But,
but some of them, like there's a great selection of games usually too. I'll give them that. But you know, they're in different states of quality. You know, there's a lot of machines with CRT burn-in that are barely working anymore. But some barcades are totally fine. Like you just go in and you enjoy yourself. You know, tip the bartender well just to be polite, and then no one will ever bother you. But there are some that turn all of the modes on the games up to the hardest, so that you have to keep pumping your quarters in. And I actually, when I interviewed Corey for My Life in Gaming when he was in New York, we went to one. We were literally the only people in that bar. It was like, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something. And as soon as they realized we were doing like a video game interview, they cranked the music up so we'd leave. Like they did not want to be part of that. Yeah. And I've had many people tell me they've met the owners before, and they're just like douchebag hipsters that think it's a great gimmick, and they couldn't give a shit about the games. That's why I mentioned the other places that I do, because
I'd love to hear about stuff like that, because I'm uninformed. I'm ill-informed.
Well, like the last tournament, right? I think I've covered one of the Too Old Too Furious tournaments. I keep my scheduling is all crazy because I got to balance IT jobs and everything else, but. I really wanted to do one start to finish and borrow like professional video equipment, because the amount of care and effort that goes into those things, especially the main cab. So there's, you know, during the tournament, there's everybody's battling each other's different things. There's sub games. So, you know, if the main tournament's Street Fighter 2, they might have like, you know, a Virtua Fighter over in the corner, whatever, just to get more people to have fun and to give something to do. But that main cab, that you always have a versus cab, which it's probably something that more common in Japan, because I didn't see one myself a few years ago. But it's a sit-down arcade cab that faces each other for people that don't know. And the stuff that they build, so each cab gets the same quality, and then it outputs to a stream, an upscaler, usually the OSSC, and then that gets split off to the stream that you see live, the projector. They have this whole matrix switcher, and they do it in a way where everybody gets the highest quality. They make sure everything's calibrated and perfect. They have the dude who does the sticks who makes sure like no one's going to go to the final battle and have like a bum arcade stick or a bum button or something like that. And it's just the efforts they go through to make sure that these tournaments are legit. It's like, you know, you will never find that at a barcade, which is why I say, hey, go to the barcade first, get that awesome variety, you know, go enjoy and how much that hipster owner spent on those arcade machines. Just play all of
$20 on Craigslist.
And then once you get a good buzz and once you're ready for some legit fun, then then head over to
when you're ready to grow up. Yeah.
So
that sounds awesome, man. Yeah. Sounds pretty legit. Sounds like something like me and you would like for what we kind of are into. Like that's kind of like our scene, I'm sure.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That passion is there, right? Yeah, if people are just like just doing it for like, you know, it meant like some people who like this one guy who's like a video game store owner and like a lot of the places in Kochi and a few places in Akihabara. I got to meet this guy and like he took me out a few times, and he knows nothing about video games, but he wasn't just like, I can make money off these fucking nerds, but he was like, yeah, just like something I wanted to do. I was like, okay, well, fine.
Yeah,
Nice,
but that's
weird enough.
that's
I'd rather have a guy who,
totally
like, really
cool in
loves
my
it.
opinion.
Yeah, I'd rather have like like I mentioned some stores in Akihabara, which I probably should talk about it if anybody's still listening at this point. Like, what the fuck is this drunk rambling podcast or interview? But like the people at like that place like Beep, like a lot of those people, like they're super into like what they're doing, and like they're into like the history, and like the owner is like super knowledgeable at everything. Like one of the only stores in Akihabara where like people will actually have conversations with you, which is really nice, I thought. But well, I like I don't begrudge anybody whatever they have, like a business or they have any sort of plan. That's great. But yeah, I'd rather go somewhere where people have that passion, you know.
Yeah, I would prefer
like
to
with
go to the
YouTube.
places where people have the passion. I am totally 100% supportive of the people that are like, yeah, I don't really get it, but I kind of like it, so whatever.
Oh sure, yeah.
100%. It's just the
not
that
true
hipster
gamer.
attitude, like we're better than you, but we're gonna watch all of you lesser people walk in and pay us money. Fuck you. I'm gonna go in and play your games, buy one beer, tip your bartender really great, and then not buy another beer. So the bartender loves me, but
Leave a
fuck you.
juice on the floor in the darkest corner and get the fuck out of here.
I would not do that, but I'm
would.
sure somebody does. So there you go.
I'm sure it happens all the time.
So,
Yeah.
before we go, any tips? Anything for anybody that wants to get into anything Japan related? And this is great because if you kind of grew up in Hawaii, then you have the sense of how both sides might look at it. People in Japan, people in the States, people all over the world. Any last tips of like, you already said where to go if you go to visit, but like, what if you want to get into Japanese gaming culture? What if you want to buy stuff? Are there any things that are like the basic, like,
So people who are trying to get into like Japanese gaming and stuff like that, or
yes.
Okay, obviously the first thing is to go to my channel and subscribe. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
But,
I mean it's obviously because your channel does center in on those Japan only games, right? So
well, it's there are a few channels on YouTube that you could go to.
yeah, but yours is the best. All right, stop.
Not
it.
really, not really. The best point your finger and laugh at, but yeah. As far as like if you're just trying to get into things on the first in the first place, one thing that people always say is like, well, I don't have a console to play these games, or I have to mod my system. Honestly, like so for example, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, people are always talking about, oh, I'm going to do a swap trick. I'm going to get a chip. I'm going to do this. Nah, fuck that. Just get a Japanese PS1 or PS2. They're so cheap online. Like in Japan, I can find like a PS1 for $1 at some places, complete in box, if I'm lucky. And online on eBay,
tip.
I see a lot of auctions. They sell the systems for so cheap, and like they might even sell junk ones. But you can get like a console for almost anything for very cheap, I think, online, even on eBay. Especially if you do auctions rather than buy it nows, and try to do best offers if you can, because a lot of that stuff, like especially like consoles, like I got a tiny apartment over here, right? I don't know, like if it's a big company, maybe they don't give a shit. Maybe they do give a shit, but they have so much stuff they don't care if they sell things at a loss. They're just trying to keep things going and going because they have a business, right? Make that offer. Just try to get a console instead of like having to mod things for like region switches. I would say it's a lot cheaper and a lot less frustrating in the long term, and you don't have to fuck with like your childhood system. That's like one thing I would say to do. Those places I mentioned.
That's actually
earlier,
a really great thing that I didn't connect until now, because my buddy Ben from iFix Retro just did my PS2 mod, and he normally charges $70 for that because it's really hard. Like I could mod a SNES Mini with my eyes closed after like 10 more of these and do a perfectly good job, but the PS2, hell no, the soldering points are way smaller. So yeah, I mean if you think of how much it costs to mod yours versus just to buy a Japanese console, in many cases, so Super Nintendo, all you have to do is just cut the tabs so the cartridges fit. That's different.
right?
But to put a Super CIC mod is really hard. So yeah, it's a great tip. Is buy the console of the region that you're going for. It might be cheaper.
I'll put it even for stuff like, I know you can soft mod Wii's and stuff like that, but like Wii's are so out of fashion here in Japan now. You see them complete in box for like $10 nowadays. So like there was this one like I was talking about Book Off. There was this one Book Off I went to, and they had about like 30 Wii's complete in box, $10 a pop.
Wow.
And some of them might have said like, oh, there's some scratches on it, but like in Japan, even like, here's one thing too about like if you're really anal about like condition. most Japanese people will not actually tell you the condition. This is something people say about like Japanese people versus like American businessmen, right? Or whatever, right? If you ask a American businessman how much money they make, they'll say quite over like what they make because they're trying to brag and be like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And that's kind of like how it is. You know, you don't want to be seen as like a poor motherfucker, right? But in Japan, it's the opposite. Like they'll say like, I make this much money, but they actually make a lot more. So when people talk about conditions of games and stuff in Japan, like in America, it's like, yeah, this is flawless. It's like whatever. What was that stupid like video quality? Wow, on these stupid composite HDMI things.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
It's like there's a lot of bullshit, right? Because people are like, oh my god, yeah, this supposed to be great. But in Japan, it's the opposite. Like people will say like, okay, there are scratches on this disc, so it's gonna be like $5 off. I'm like, okay. And then sometimes they'll show you the scratches, and like there's nothing. There's no scratches or anything. I'm like, oh my god, there's a crack in the CD case, so it's gonna be $30 off. It's a fucking CD case, dude. I don't know, just switch it with something like get a Bubsy 3D CD case and switch it for your Little Ralph CD case, stuff like that. So like when you were looking for like auctions or whatever online, if it says like, oh, there's acceptable, this is a C condition or D condition, it's probably like an A condition in America. That's one thing that I would say as well. And yeah, just like auctions on eBay and, you know, buy it now. Sometimes like if you go to like a smaller seller, kind of like what you're saying with Castlevania, one, you're supporting somebody who's not like this big company who they just buy up everybody's shit and just sell it and is soulless. But also like you could probably get a better deal and less people are watching those auctions. Like that's one thing about, like I mentioned Yamatoku earlier. Mm-hmm. A lot of people watch that guy's auctions. He's been around since at least 2000 when I started using eBay. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have a lot more competition as far as auctions. But the best thing you can do if you want to get into Japanese gaming is wait until Golden Week, because plane tickets to Japan, which is what is it, late March, early April, or is it late April, early May?
Golden Week? I've never heard this before.
It's like the big holiday season in Japan, where a lot of like the normal jobs, they have like a week off. Mm-hmm. So it's the Golden Week, and they mostly go out of the country or go to different parts of Japan. So people aren't really they're out of Japan and they're not coming back for that whole week. So you can probably get a really good trip into Japan. And like I got a $555 round trip ticket one year from Hawaii, but even that's a really great deal from Hawaii. So come there and just do your shopping in Japan. That's the best thing, because like one, you get a cultural experience, you get a life experience. That's great. Two, you get super cheap games and awesome games, and it's just fun. Like the thrill of the hunt is like what I like. Like, you know, with I go into a place, like what do they have? Okay. They don't have anything I'm really into, but like it was fun looking. So that's also a big thing. And I don't know. That's all the real tips I can think of. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, you know,
those are great tips.
Joking about my channel, but there's like a lot of great sites out there that'll help you out. Sure. Like legacy sites. Like I'm sure, like I haven't been there in a long time, but like Hardcore Gaming 101 probably has a great information on Japanese only games. There's a few YouTube channels out there. You can check out my channel, but I don't put out that many videos, so not as many as I'd like to. But
yeah, but you don't have fluff content, so there you go.
That's good. I hope
you're not putting out content just because when YouTube doesn't send you your $1 million check one month, you need to put out fluff content to get the check back. So there you go.
I definitely don't do it for the money. I know you're not supposed to talk about YouTube money, but I think I make more in like a day than I made in 4 years on YouTube.
Are you not supposed to talk about YouTube money?
I think it's like a violation of their terms.
Okay, well, I might be banned for saying this, but I don't make anything off of YouTube.
Don't let your trolls know they're gonna get you banned now.
If that's why I get banned, I will just upload shit to my own server. That's fine at this point. I just I never understood YouTube money. I don't make anything off of it. I think I've made a total in 2 years and like a couple 100,000 hits total. I think I've made like $200, $300 total in years. That's exactly how much I've made. Basically, 200 to 300, which is like we must be doing something wrong, because I hear like people who are like have like less subs than us too. Like, yeah, I make like $50 a month. I'm like, what? That's good for you, but. Yeah, I'm sure that's people that, if they're counting sponsorships, like or maybe it's your analogy of the Americans that are trying to boost up how much they make.
Maybe. But I've seen screenshots, though. So, unless they're photoshopping that. So
I'd rather be honest and be a loser than be
check
a
out how
popular
much
kid.
money I made. Yeah, I don't know. I don't make any money off of YouTube really. So
Yeah, the analogy that I always do for my friends that I can vouch for. So the ones that I'm comfortable saying is the guys on the retro roundtable. While I wouldn't speak for them, I'm confident that this is a true statement. If they were in this for the money, they would go sweep floors at McDonald's and make more money than they would have made in the amount of time that they've spent on the things that they do. We do this shit because we enjoy the shit out of it. Like, this is fun. This is a hobby. I get to drink with a new friend in fucking Japan at 9 o'clock in the morning in New York. Can you think of a cooler hobby?
Can I drink this? I got no more drinks left, but
so
it's fun,
the
man.
people that brag about
yeah,
YouTube revenue are either lying or doing it for the wrong reasons. So
yeah. Oh, it's honestly, it actually would be really easy to make quick YouTube money if you really wanted to.
Well, I think we've covered as much ground as we can after having probably 4 drinks for me, I guess, because I did have that big thing of vodka and, all right. Well, yeah, 4 drinks in, like an hour and 40.
Should have bought more. I thought this was going to be like about an hour. So I was like, 2 or 3 drinks will be fine, but I had a lot of fun, so...
Yeah,
let's do it again.
I'm trying to stay sober-ish because I literally have to. When I finish this, I am getting in a cab and I'm going down to the Javits Center and meeting some old friends who I'm pretty positive as soon as I walk in there, they're going to be like, "Bob's here. Let's start drinking." And it's like, oh god,
bring out the cone. It's like Jesus.
Yeah, that's the advantage of being in New York City is I never have to worry about getting myself home. It's not like, oh, it was the Uber. Do I need to call for a ride? If it's a 45-minute drive, who can I rely on to? No. Worst case scenario, I just aim in the direction of my... the streets are numbered. And I've never been so drunk I can't count up and down after a block, so I could just walk right towards my house and go from there. But
are you on Manhattan?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, awesome. The short version is my wife commuted an hour and 15 every day each way when we lived in Stanford to work, and then she got a much fancier, newer job, and some days was an hour and 45 each way. And she was like, "That's it. Jesus. We got to move to the city." I don't think we can't afford to, so now I live in a one-room apartment. I live in a studio apartment in Manhattan, right by Columbus Circle. So, it's always funny when I have a friend, my drummer, his girlfriend actually works right down the street. She's like, "You live here? Wow, so what do you do?" And I'm like, Voltara's garage is bigger than my apartment. I think we measured it once. So
from now on, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm one of the Trump kids.
Yeah, no.
Lie about that.
Still a normal person just trying to live in a not-so-normal part of New York. So, yeah.
Man,
hey,
for that, though.
It is.
That's cool though, living in that kind of that situation though. Like I'm sure obviously there's like a lot aside from the money. There's a lot of like pains, but there's a lot of like really cool stuff you wouldn't get anywhere else. Yeah,
unless you live here, there's experiences that you never have, and some I know a lot of people that I love. I don't want to sound cheesy, but I love life. I love whatever fucking comes at me. It's even the shitty things. It's like, this sucks. That's gonna make my drunken day drinking with Jimmy Hapa even better tomorrow. Like, but I know a lot of people that if they lived here and did these things, they would hate everything. They would be miserable. So it is not for everybody. I kind of just enjoy whatever rolls my way, but it is definitely not for everyone. But yeah. Different and interesting.
It's sweet, nice. Man. That is an experience that,
I do enjoy some of the crazies though. The guy that's in the middle of the street screaming, "I got a bomb strapped to my chest and I'm going to blow everybody up," and he's got no shirt on. So, I'm not drunk. This literally happened. Guy with no shirt.
I believe
with nothing strapped to his chest. That I have a bomb strapped to my chest and I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill everybody.
You don't understand, man.
Holding his hand out like this. And people are literally like, just walking right by him like, fucking crazy again. God
See, what he's trying to say to you is that the world is the bomb and it's strapped to his chest. And that's why he's bare out there.
I hate to break it to you.
To get your act
Normally
together.
I would agree with you, Jimmy Hapa, but right now what I'm telling you this guy is saying is, I would like some more crack. Will somebody please get me some more crack?
It reminds me of Chinatown in Hawaii. This guy came up and asked me and some other guys, like, "Hey, get bag ice." you know where I can get bag ice? And I was like, oh, I think you might be able to get some at the supermarket. I was like, dummy, he's talking about ice, you know? So I know that guy is just a little bit loopy, and
That's
really should
funny.
get some help.
See,
But,
now I'm quite happy I didn't get that joke until the end because they're not a crackhead. So, like,
thank
ice.
God
What do
for
you
that.
mean? What do you mean by ice? Oh, I see what he's talking
So you're
about.
gonna convert your Patreon to a GoFundMe after all. Get
Oh,
Bob
there you go.
off of his ice.
No, no. In fact, the only thing I've ever been addicted to is pizza and cookies. Clearly, but my poison of choice is definitely the booze. I'm not a crack guy. I'm already hyper enough. I don't need uppers. Coffee makes me jittery. God, crack would make my eyes pop out of my head.
Here's the thing: pizza, cookies, and booze in Japan are great. So make sure you save up for that trip, man.
Yeah, yeah. I even have in my will, like, I don't want a funeral, but if somebody does anything, there must be either cookies or beer, and if people refuse either, I was never friends with them, so they don't, this shouldn't be allowed in. You gotta choose one. But
Bury you with that shit, yeah.
well, this was fucking awesome. Thank you very much for doing
Yeah,
this.
super happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. And yeah, whether for interview or not, let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. We'll plan one. This is exactly what I'd hoped for this time, but next time we'll plan one a little more structured. So maybe,
Sure.
maybe we'll have a topic or something. Because
If we have any subscribers left after this, you know, for anybody to watch.
I should try to drag Zach into one of these. We'll have a three-way with Voltar.
Okay, that works.
Yeah,
Trouble, man.
We'll have some fun.
Ruin the integrity of YouTube.
Ruined it.
Yeah, I like that guy.
guys.
He's the perfect balance of like chill and arrogance is what I would say. Isn't it like perfectly like I've only talked to him that one time.
I was gonna say the perfect balance of like of grounded and stable and batshit crazy at the same time.
It's kind of the same. Yeah.
Yep. Love it. All right,
Love
Zach,
that.
we're calling you out. You're in it next time.
Yep.
So please subscribe to Jimmy Hapa's channel. Definitely check out his videos. If you want to laugh, check out the Seaman one because it's literally called Seaman, and it's actually kind of an interesting story. What was the name of the channel where you just did the duel video with?
Collaboration, yeah, that was with the DJ Slope over at Slope's Game Room, Daniel Ibertson. So, way bigger YouTuber than either of us, but always been a good friend, always been supportive of my channel. So I appreciate him having me on there.
Actually, I think if you don't mind sitting through a
too.
longer video, I would start with that one because I was actually I really enjoyed that one. I learned a lot.
Oh yeah,
it was
great.
Very cool video. But definitely, if
trying to let us know that you're interested in that Seaman, huh?
Yep. If you're
good.
into obviously any of the Japanese culture gaming, the localized stuff, check out your regular channel for that. And yeah, so well, we'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go get drunk and then post hateful things on Twitter.
All right, we'll see those man boobies later.